once again. Unamwogopa nani? Unamheshimu nani? Unamwogopa nani? Unamheshimu nani? Mbona umechanganyikiwa, wakosi ufanye nini? Mbona umechanganyikiwa, wakosi ufanye nini? Never get confused, try to measure. Never get confused, try to balance. Never get confused, try to measure. Never get confused, try to balance. It's very obvious, Jesus is the number one. It's very obvious, Jesus is the number one. Jesus is the number one. It's the number one. Jesus is the number one. It's the number one.
Papa, I know you have power to break every chain. Why should I fear? Hallelujah. Bana Israeli na katina moka na Egypto bakoma kina suka balobi Nzambe atiki bango misusu Nzambe atiki bango misusu Nzambe azalakate ba misusu elikia Nzambe na biso akosala toka Nzambe na bango abomela ki bango surprise ya makati oyo papa na mama akoki kosala te oyo ba patro ya mokili bakoki kosala te higwe Nzambe ya ba surprise esuka kiwana te akati saki bango meruje papa mongi na tembo
There's another one. Halama. Busy easy baby.
Hasehe bambarize niyo bazatubahumurize kuko byose bizohera niyo byo ntituzobikora. Hey, hasehe bambarize ubahumurize.
Umuteri gikere nukuchunguruza mpore nanjye nje kubahumuriza abishe data wacu narabahariye bifuza ko nova ahibambewe urucira mukaso rugahitana nyoko ndi umurundi kandi birambereye ubumwe y'ibikogwa n'amajambere nyegera mukura mbere nkibarize amoki wacu yazanywe nande akatagurutse ntikamenye iyo bweze amazi arashuha ntiyibagirwa ibumbeho nimuze tujane ayo mahoro n'abandi tubereke karorero fata munda dukora igihugu naha basi baduca ibijuju badutera amoko tukamarana tukamara igihugu n'ibyacu erega Burundi n'ubwacu ntibuvyara umunyamakungu nimuze dufatane turera igihugu
bambarize iyo bazatubahumurize kuko byose bizohera niyo yona tuzobikora bambarize ubahumurize
amazi arashuha ntiyibagirwa ibumbeho reka turondere uko twobaho niyo twaronka tubake paradiso Burundi igihugu cacu rwaruka.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are live. This is Voices Live, and my name is Michael Viega. I'm the communications editor for Voices, a world forum for music therapy. It is wonderful to be back this week with another author from our latest edition of Voices, which you can get at voices.no. Remember to follow us also on Padlet. You can find the articles there as well, and also comment and keep in touch with us on Padlet. This is another round of Voices Live in a series where we're connecting with the authors and making sure that we have a chance for to hear directly from them, and for also audiences to engage directly with the authors themselves. And so today it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Bernard Austin Kegunda Marethi, author of Music as the Medicine of Trauma Among Refugees in Arizona. He is also the author of Music Therapy, A Therapeutic Force Remains Anonymous in Kenya from 2003. So someone who is very familiar with Voices and who's been with Voices for a long time. He teaches occupational therapy at A.T. Still University, University of Health Sciences, which is in Arizona, and has a particular focus on mental health practice. His doctoral dissertation was titled Music and Health in Kenya, which was reprinted in 2012. And focuses on the journey of music and health in Kenya, with a particular also focus on the role of terminology and how terminology, especially from colonial practice, is used to discredit or give credence to different phenomena. So welcome, Bernard. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I also should say that in your article, that you focus on several musicians who have faced traumatic displacement, and interviewed them, and that we have several of them who are going to be joining us live. So DJ Grin the Peacemaker is with us, and he is waiting in the staging area. So we look forward to talking with DJ Grin. Don Brighter might be with us soon, and also Farhala Zimir will also join us, which I'm really looking forward to. And I just want to, before we begin and go too far, I just want to show everybody, just as I just want to show everybody here, if I can get a good view of their the article. This is Don's or Bernard's article in Voices, but also I want to particular focus on Don Brighter's YouTube page. please go visit Don Brider's YouTube page. Subscribe, like, hit the notification symbol. Also, DJ Grin the Peacemaker and his website and his YouTube page. Like, subscribe, hit that notification symbol. Farha Zamir, also subscribe, hit that notification symbol. And MC Joel, who's not with us tonight, but is also featured in your current study. So to anybody who's watching tonight, please support and subscribe. So again, welcome, Bernard. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin. Let's hear about your background, and let's hear about your experience and what brought you to music therapy, and this article.
Sure. So I studied music education back in the 90s, and while doing my master's program at Kenyatta University in Nairobi, I started to get interested in music therapy, and there were some books in the library about that. Not enough to give me a good picture of what was going on, but enough to get me a sense of how music therapy was defined in the West, particularly in Europe and in America. So I, knowing the kind of cultural applications of music in health, I had, curiosity, wanting to know what should we call this that is happening in our culture now that it doesn't seem to fit the definition that is proposed in the West. And so there was some sort of dissonance there, and I remember presenting a small talk about that when we had a Kenyatta University Cultural Week series. I think it was back in 2001. And so what I was thinking was confirmed, that most people actually understood music therapy to mean any kind of application of music, even those that are rooted in our culture, to bring about healing. That's how people understood it, and that seemed to make sense to me. And so I was kind of adamant about, embracing a definition of music therapy that was from Europe that didn't seem to fit our context. So there was that struggle first, and then so I decided to go ahead and pursue musicology, applied musicology in Germany, with an option to add music therapy as a subspecialty. So I studied in two schools in Magdeburg, Germany, and I was able to bring these two fields together in order to see both our cultural applications and also understand how the West was using it. So I got that full picture, and I thought that's what I needed to be able to understand how to bring the two together. So my dissertation is a lot about that, and you can look at it if you're very interested in that kind of topic. It's very rich in detail, but that's how I got into music therapy interest.
Yeah, and it's certainly a very important topic, and one that, for instance, the American Music Therapy Association and many scholars and people and clinicians, especially from the West, are just starting really to talk about the colonization of healing practices in music, and how within therapy, especially music therapy, a lot of times what we call interventions may be already practices that have happened for many, many generations in other cultures. And we are stamping and branding names of these interventions as if they're new, but they are not. So you found yourself that the terminology and interventions and the way it was being discussed, that there was a cognitive dissonance with how music is utilized for healing already in many, many cultures, especially in Kenya.
Yeah, and it's not to blame the West. I mean, the West has to define terms that make sense to them and their context, because I understand why disciplines have to be, defined because they need to have their own, professional ethics. What kind of skills do you need to have before you can practice this, and so on and so forth. And even in traditional cultures, though, there were requirements for people to practice in those traditional healing contexts where music was applied, except the method of certifying them was not a professional, organization that gives you a certificate and therefore allows you to practice. We just had a different way of doing it, and it's still going on today. We're kind of being forced to embrace certification approaches. So I'm seeing some of the people I interviewed for my dissertation, for example, now are certified by the Ministry of Culture for providing services, because we want to, much as we have the traditional way to distinguish those who actually have the skills and those who don't.
Right.
We still want to make sure we protect people from people that don't really have the skills they need to help people who need help.
What brought you to your current article, which focuses on a phenomenological study looking at the lives of musicians who have experienced forced displacement from their countries due to various atrocities, had built music careers and who have gained audience attention in their home, and now who live in the United States and have to acculturate and raise families, and also locate their musicality and their musicianship back in this culture. What brought you to wanting to seek an understanding of what these experiences are like and how music helps?
That's a very good question, Mike. So I had lived here for close to 10 years before I thought about doing actually 11 years or even more. I'm not sure when exactly, but somewhere around 10 years or more before I began to get interested in the experience of refugee musicians. And the reason for that interest was, to begin with, after I moved out to Arizona and met a lady who was very active in the refugee ministries and in the community here. We ended up getting married, so she's my wife today. But without her, I don't think I would have known anything about refugee communities and what the challenges are for them. But so following her in the community event and seeing what's going on and then getting to hear their stories, obviously, I have my own story as somebody who has moved from Africa to here, but it's not a refugee sort of story. I did not have the same kind of experience they had. So I was interested in understanding, having trained as a music educator, I didn't find myself nearly as active in music as they were. So I wanted to know, what is the driving force? Why are they doing it? And it was amazing to explore that and find out that they're actually doing this in order to maintain good health and promote integration and be part of the community, which is what I should have been doing myself, but I did not. So it was, a wake-up call for me, because I had music skills that I didn't use in the same way, so I thought this is something beautiful that should be shared out, and so that others can learn from it.
How did you go about within the research process, especially with doing phenomenological interviewing? What was your process of building relationships and trust with everybody, with Don and DJ Grin and MC Joel? And what was that like? How did the relationship impact your study?
Yeah, they obviously were first friends before, some of them were first friends before they were enrolled in the study, because we met multiple times in community meetings regarding refugee activities, music performances in the Phoenix area. So I got to talk to them and get to know them. We both, for many of them, we speak Swahili. So there's a connection there. There's also the fact that we all come from Eastern Africa area. So we kind of are generally familiar with where each of us came from. So it wasn't really a very difficult process to build rapport and be friends and make them understand why this is important to talk about.
Fantastic, yeah. I'm very aware of, especially Faraha's time Faraha is a mother and works and so I was wondering if we can bring her on now, if that's possible, and just and say hello. She was one of your musicians that you talked with, and here she is. Hello.
Hello.
So, karibu sana, unaweza ukazungumza kwa Kiswahili, nitatafsiri ndio watu wa kusikia.
Aha. Ninawasalimu nyinyi yote kwanza.
Yeah, she's saying greetings to everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. My name is Furaha Fulesi Nsimere.
Yeah, that is her name. Furaha Nsimere Fulesi.
Aha. Mimi ni mwimbaji, nina miaka nyingi ya uimbaji.
She has a lot of years in singing.
Sijua naweza kuniuliza maulizo kama ni maulizo gani.
Yeah, she's saying you're free to ask any questions you might have.
Well, I'm interested in number one, the influence of gospel music within your work and within your music, and how the role of gospel music plays in your songwriting.
Yeah, anataka kuzungumza kidogo kuhusu muziki wa Injili. Kwa nini unaimba muziki wa Injili?
Mimi ninaweza sema Bwana amenichagua kumwimbia Mungu kwa sababu nilianza kuimba kwanza kanisani ningali bado mdogo wa miaka 12.
Yeah, she started singing when she was 12 years old in the church, so she has maintained that.
Na nilipenda sana maneno ya Mungu na niliendelea ile katika maneno ya Mungu, na toka ile miaka 12 niliendelea kuimba kanisani mpaka gisi niliolewa nikiimba kanisani kwa kwaya, na ilifikia kipindi ambao sasa nimekwisha kuolewa na kuzaa. Mungu akapenda anilipe anitie sasa kwa kipindi cha kufanya nyimbo zangu mimi peke, ningemu kariere yangu mimi peke.
Yeah. Okay. So she, after starting at the age of 12, she continued singing and was very deeply rooted in her Christian beliefs and values. And she continued all the way to when she got married. And after that, she still continued and continues until now.
Yes.
Sijue na ndio hivi ninaendelea kwa uimbaji. Sasa mwaka wa 2004 nilianza sasa kufanya manyimbo yangu mwenyewe, sio tena kwaya, lakini inakuwa sasa huduma yangu mwenyewe. Toka mwaka wa 2004 na mpaka hivi nilianza kufanya manyimbo, naingia studio, natoa masidi mpaka hivi.
So she's been recording, producing and recording music since 2004 until today.
And I love how you bring your family into your music. Your family seems to play a very important role. What was it like to move to the United States and continue to do music in terms of finding an audience within the United States?
Anasema anataka usikie wakati mlikuja hapa Amerika, uliwezaje kuendeleza hiyo kazi ya kuimba, na ni shida gani ama ni vikwazo gani ulipata katika hiyo safari?
Yeah, mimi nilienda kwanza kwa refugee huko Uganda, na hapo ilikuwa shida kwanza sana. Nikaendelesha tu kufanya ile ambayo nilipata kufanya, nikamwambia Mungu. Sasa nilipofika hapa ilikuwa kama shida kweli kwangu, lakini nilimwambia Mungu, nikasema kama wewe ndio nipatia hii huduma, sitaacha, nitakuimbia Mungu mpaka uzee wangu, unifungulie milango. Na sijui kama niendelee, na ilikuwa kama nguvu kidogo kwangu. Nilitumika, nilionesha watoto wangu, tuliimba pamoja, tunaimba kwa makanisa, tunaimba mpaka ilifikia kipindi Mungu ananisaidia, nafanya concert yangu ya kwanza hapa, nafanya ya pili, na mpaka leo nimeingia tena studio, ijapokuwa ni kugumu kipesa, lakini niko najinyima hiyo kidogo, naingia studio niangalie tena kama nitafanya video zingine hapa.
So she, after moving to Kampala, Uganda, she had quite some rough time trying to get started there. So it took a while to get started, and then she was able to, she kept up the faith and hope that somehow she would make it, and she continued and continued. Eventually, she was able to begin to record music and sell albums in the Kampala area. But then after she moved out here, it was another step backwards, trying to figure out how to get started again. But because of her faith in God, she believes that she will make it, and she wants to continue singing for the glory of God. So she will not give up no matter what. If it costs a lot in the studio to record the music, she will still do it because she wants to do it for her values regarding faith.
Yes, thank you. The last question: how are you and how are your family in the time of COVID-19 during this time period? Are you able to still make music? And how are you right now?
Wakati wa COVID-19 Furaha, unaendelea namna gani? Bado muziki unaendelea ama kuna vikwazo kidogo?
Nilijitahidi tu kwa sababu ni kazi ya Mungu. Unajua mie kama ninamfaiziaka Mungu sitafutake faida kabisa zaidi kwa muziki, kwa sababu unakuwa najua faida yangu inatoka tu ni kwa Mungu. Ninajua kama nikatia pesa hapo ninatoa kwa sababu ya kazi ya Mungu, nihubiri watu injili kwa music. Hasa wakati wa COVID nilijitahidi tu nyumbani kwangu niendelee. Sasa nilibakia niko najifunza njo kutunga nyimbo, na nikapata nyimbo ambayo unasema tena juu ya hii hali yenye iko ya magonjwa, na nikaingia studio tena. Kwa hiyo wakati nikatoa nyimbo ambayo naimba juu ya corona, nikawaambia watu wasiogope. Tuna Mungu mzima. Mungu anaweza kumaliza corona, na tusiwe naoga kwa corona kwa sababu nguvu za Yesu zinashinda corona.
So she is saying that she continues to sing and has also produced songs for encouraging others to not be afraid now that we have coronavirus, that she believes that God is able to get us through this, and we shouldn't have any reasons to worry, and it's not stopping her from doing what she needs to do for her ministry in music.
Is there any way that audiences can reach you and your music now? I just want to show everybody that you can go to YouTube and go to and subscribe and like Faraha Zemir, and you can. Is there any other way that people can reach out to your music, Faraha?
Kuna njia zingine za kufikia muziki wako isiyokuwa ile ya kuingia kwa YouTube?
Hiyo njo shida ninakuwa nao, kwa sababu unajua kwanza ninakuja hapa Marekani, vitu mingi sana sielewe na sijue. Manake vingi kabisa sijue. Unajua hapa ni tofauti na mahali ninatoka. Hata unakutana hata kupata views hata mingi iko kugumu sana, kwa sababu sijue njia gani naweza nikaingilia ili kwamba nipate kuendelea zaidi. Hiyo ndio shida ninakuwa nayo, lakini manake hapa ni ku YouTube tu, na mahali kama nafanya concerts, kwa sababu nafanya kwa mwaka, ninafanya kama kikundi, ninafanya ma invitation, watu wanakuja imba. Hiyo tu ndio njia ambayo ninajua, sijue njia nyingine. Sina usaidizi nyingine.
So she's saying that she has, obviously, because of financial reasons, she has limitations in terms of what she can do to promote her music. But her primary means are either YouTube or live concerts, and she has organized a bunch of them. It's challenging still because not a lot of people know about her to be able to have the kind of audience she's looking for. But that is one way she has reached out to promote herself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I put a link to the YouTube, her YouTube site in the comments for people to check out. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Haya, tumeshukuru sana kwa kuja kuungana na sisi, na amepeana link ya YouTube channel ndio watu waende wakutafute huko.
Amen, asante. tumwambie aniombee Mungu, niko naomba tu Mungu. Sasa French tunasema producteur, aniombee Mungu nipate msaidizi wa kunisaidia kwa hizi nyimbo, yeye peke yake na produire nyimbo zangu, maanake nyimbo zangu zipate kuendelea, nikuwe na msaidizi.
Yeah. So she's saying she's asking for prayers and any kind of support. If anybody knows somebody who could provide her support, she would also ask for any sort of support to help promote her work.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, asante.
Tumeshukuru sana.
Bye, asante. Ninaweza ondoka?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for that. Let's welcome, because I know that I know DJ Grin, the Peacemaker, is with us as well. If we could welcome DJ Grin, who is also featured in your article. DJ Grin and MC Joel were taken to Ugandan refugee camp as children. They worked hard as musicians in Uganda, generating an audience. Since relocating to the United States, their career as a musician has struggled, having lost their audience, but they still continue seeking opportunities and seeking ways to integrate their family into the United States. And just like to show everybody DJ Grin the Peacemaker, just on YouTube, hit like, subscribe, and yeah, let us welcome, if we could see him, let me turn off this, and welcome DJ Grin. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having invited me and accepted me.
It's wonderful to be here. And I was looking at your YouTube page, listening to your music, love it, beautiful. You know, it gives me joy listening to your music, DJ Grin.
Amen.
Yes. How are you? How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing okay, and I'm accepting whatever situation that comes in. I'm trying to change whatever I can. I'm trying to accept whatever I cannot change because there are things in the circle of our influence and things in the cycle of our concern. So yeah, whatever is in my influence, in my circle of influence, I'm trying to influence and make a change that I think I should see, or I think the community should see.
Yes, yes. Can we read about some of your history and work in Bernard's article. Just wondering if you could share a little bit about your experience of being a musician and your relationship with MC Joel and your what brought you to music.
Thank you very much. So basically, let me say shortly, I was born in the Congo and became a refugee in the Congo at some point. IDP, we call them internally displaced people.
Yes.
That was in 1993, 94, and then became another refugee in Uganda outside the Congo, that's in 1996. And all the stories and all experiences I went through was just ridiculous. Something I would not even love to share, but I must share it so that other people could learn about. And that one brought me into Uganda in 1997 when I started like a music, like village band, young generation, share with them because I was already, at my early age, I respect all the gospel artists, then Simire and the rest of the people that I haven't seen yet and others that I do see. Gospel has just brought me into the line or into the map of starting to sing, even other inspirational music. So I started in a church choir. I'm a Catholic, and I was the Catholic youngest choir member. That I started singing in church, and then after church, I started singing people's songs. Thereafter, I thought it's so important that I can also write other songs. That was in 1996, 1997, 1998. When I was already in a refugee camp, started writing songs for the church, songs for the churches, not only Catholics. And then from there, that's when I came to realize that the talent is growing and God is calling me. So basically, when I started singing, I came to realize if I cannot contribute anything else, I can share my story. I can share the community's stories and and problems, challenges, and affairs into music. That's how I came to find myself on board in music. And when it comes to Bernard, definitely when I came into the US in 2016, at some point, somehow, somewhere, God does everything for a purpose. There's nothing that happens accidentally. Everything happens for a purpose. I know I cannot celebrate being a refugee in the US or an immigrant in the US, but what I can celebrate is what I get after that, because I cannot control that. Bernard cannot control that. You cannot control that, Sir Michael. But what we got to do is also maintain, or learn from what we see, learn from how the time we meet each other with with our diversity, with different life stories, and basically music has still continued to lead.
Yeah, so music continues to be a healing vehicle for you to find joy even in the midst of extreme struggle in life.
Definitely.
Is that your son we see back there filming you?
Right. Yeah,
Looking
basically.
cool, man.
Come on, Michael. Right. So anyway, let me talk brief about him. Is like many times I think I recently posted I posted a certain post on Facebook. I got about 5,000 plus followers on Facebook. When I was posting, people always ask me when I'm on interviews, DJ, people are you are a legend since Africa, since the refugee camp. What do you think you should encourage people to love music, to go into music industry? What is the gain? What are the profits that you've got into music? And whenever I answer them, it's always a strange answer. I've not said I've gained a certain much of money, but the first thing I've gained is peace and love and the connection of my family. I'm a father of 5 children. Him being my firstborn is the one currently doing my videos, shooting in and out. He's the one helping even other upcoming artists create their YouTube channel. Like in Simira, if she called me or if she contacted me, I can create her YouTube channel. I can help her get her YouTube channel, get to many other people. It has been like a bridge. I feel like what I missed in the past, why do other people have to suffer on that? I feel I want to do something different from my past, from my suffering. I suffered, yes. I'm a slave of the past, but I'm a product of the past, but I'm not a slave of it. So He's my son who is doing videography for me, MC Joel, and my other young artists or the upcoming artist, Wasasa OJ, who is in Kentucky already around me. So he has tried to help very many people. So he's my son. My wife sings with me. My children have been with me always, all the time. And I think that's the number one profit that I've got in music art or music industry.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the aspects of COVID-19 and people being at home and people being quarantined is that we are able to still connect like this. Find new ways of connecting and find new ways of being with each other. How has your experience been recently with COVID-19?
2 ways. Like I said, everything happens with a purpose. There's nothing happens accidentally. So whether it's God, everything, just like I say, COVID-19 came for a purpose. Some people are going to learn, some people are still not going to learn. Politically, socially, economically, in very many ways, right? But to me, with the COVID-19 and what I've been doing in music industry, in community building, community connection, building bridges among communities through art, through music, dance, and drama, I've really faced it. I honestly can say I've really faced it. They are my fans around the States of the US that have been missing. They always wanted to see me in their shows. I do sometimes MC in weddings, in conferences. They always see me every time. But these days, it's not the same. Then 2, of course, I've always been bringing all the youths together, refugee youths and immigrants together, who are in music or in art industry. But with the COVID-19, I was not able to. And everyone is like, DJ, did you just really leave us down? Or you still have a plan or a way forward in the future? I'm like, okay, I don't apply for COVID-19 to come, but we just need to be patient, accept the situation that is in. And of course, in the other positive way, like I told you, nothing happens without a reason. I've got some time to sit with my son. I've got time to sit with my daughters. I've got time to sit with my wife, share with them, what my experiences are, even what lessons I've learned from people that have been visiting different states with different shows. So I'm taking it in two ways. One is negative, the other one is positive. And my motto is always, problem is equal to project. When COVID-19 comes, as an artist, you gotta be creative. That's why I wrote even a song recently saying, let's not fear COVID-19. But what we should mind about, how does it leave us? It's gonna go. Many other pandemics and many other diseases and infections came. And they will continue to come, but how do they leave us? What do they leave us, what message do they leave us in? So basically, those are the two things I would talk about, the COVID-19 and my art work that I'm doing at the moment.
Bernard, is there anything you would like to say with your relationship with DJ Grin?
And it's not just for DJ Grin, but also for Furaha. One of the remarkable things that I have seen, so the article talks about them. It says little about their families. So I like that DJ Grin brought up the issue of family because the impact of music in their lives is magnified when our whole family is performing together and is using this as a resource to stay together as a united family and to build cohesion and to also heal the emotions that they have together shared from wherever they came from. And that sense of unity in families is very strong in Furaha's family. It is also very strong in DJ Grin's family, in MC Joel family. They sing husband, wife, children, and also close friends. So the article doesn't give you the true impression of the magnitude that the music is creating in their families, because it just kind of focuses on those few people in the families. That's one thing I would want to mention.
Yeah, it really feels like music is a family community affair that's tied so closely with God and religion and faith and healing.
Yeah, exactly. And not just them, because there's also the community that they engage. So Furaha talked about the church community that she is involved in, and Zau also is a pastor, the only gentleman from Asia in the list of musicians there. So he is a pastor. So he not only uses music for his own well-being, but also uses that skill to minister to other people in the church where he is a pastor. And I know that this is true of almost everyone that I talked to. So we really are just not giving you the full picture when we focus on just 6 musicians.
Well, DJ Grin, the Peacemaker, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
I also appreciate the time you've given us and consideration. So, yeah, you continuously give us more hope and more feeling of being fearless, because we've just come here and with confusion, not knowing whether people are going to accept us, whether people are going to consider us as people as well. So with our past and our present today, I feel it's a good ground and it's a good start that you as few individuals or many individuals might accept and welcome us in our art, in our languages. And we're ready to give in, we're ready to support, and we're ready to be part of the community, part of the change that we want to see. We want to make a change, we want to make a place better than we found it in our art.
Thank you.
Thank you.
DJ Gren the Peacemaker, his YouTube channel is linked in the comments. So anybody who's watching, please check it out, subscribe, hit the notification symbol, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, that was a real treat. I think let me see. I think Don is not able to join us this evening. But yeah, I'm gonna put in the comments the links for everybody from Bernard's article, and also anybody who's watching right now. If you have any questions for Bernard, please let us know. Put them in the comments, and yeah. So such wonderful people, Bernard, and musicians, and what a you know, in terms of learning from their experiences with trauma and music and healing. And I know you titled your article "Music," music medicine. Music as medicine of healing trauma. What would you like music therapists, to take from these stories, or to learn about, I should say, from these stories, especially understanding what you talked about earlier, that, in terms of the importance of terminology, looking at traditional healing and music as a healing agent, and music therapy as, bringing in these terminologies within a more colonial sense.
Yeah, good question. So one thing that I learned is that these are people who have purposely identified music as the means to getting better, feeding better in all ways. Getting better families, better communities, better feeding, better emotional status, and so on. And they're using it purposely to attain good health. And that is, by the way, I didn't actually choose that title. Two of the interviewees, that was MC Joel and DJ Green, actually said music is medicine of trauma. It's the medicine of trauma for them. So I merely just picked it up from the interview and placed it there because I thought that was just a striking way to put it.
Yes.
And so you can't credit that to me. It's to them that we should be giving credit. But I thought that, the problem with healthcare today is we have this tendency to wait until people are so sick that, whether mentally or physically, that they have to go see a healthcare provider instead of doing the things they can do now to stay healthy and prevent themselves from having to see a healthcare provider. That's very unfortunate. I think it's a tragedy. I think, and it's just by educating people about things they can possibly do when they are going through stressful circumstances to be able to feel better and stay healthy, so they don't come to see us as therapists. We would rather be seeing, people that, have more structural issues that really can't be. There's no way they can independently, without support, get themselves healthy. But there are a lot of people out there who are doing very little to support good mental and physical health, and then they unfortunately end up seeing a doctor or a therapist here and there when they could have done just a little bit of creative activity like music or drawing or painting or some other activities to keep their emotional well-being up, so that they don't need to see a healthcare provider. So for those of us who are in the therapy business, I think reaching out to communities to support and educate people about healthy ways of living, so that we can prevent problems before they reach to the clinics, right? The musicians you see here are using music to prevent potential issues like PTSD or other kinds of traumatic illnesses that end up bringing people to the clinics. But these people are doing it by themselves, using music to stay healthy, and we can do that. We can also educate others to do that.
Can you talk a little bit about the role of performance too? It seems like, as we've talked a lot about family and community, and music as a healing and medicine agent, you know, what the role of performance and connecting in that way.
Yeah.
You know, what was the role of performance that you found?
So one thing that is very, very good with these 6 gentlemen, and by the way, there were a lot of other refugee artists that I did not include because I couldn't schedule interviews. It was kind of tricky getting a time to interview. So there's a lot more other people involved in this kind of activity, but these are the ones I was able to interview within the time frame that I had. But the point is, they are constantly engaging communities. They are reaching out to churches and to schools and to in public events like the refugee World Refugee Day, or there was the other one was World Bazaar Phoenix, which happens twice a year. There is also Phoenix Unknown, which is one of the last ones where I saw DJ Green and Don Bryder and MC Joel perform. And then there are churches, of course. So yeah, it is a rich environment. The community can provide those opportunities, but it's just not enough for the kind of performance that these people are interested in, because they want to do more, but there are only fewer opportunities. But these performances help to connect people and to link up and not feel lonely and isolated.
We have a message from Kendra Ray. Hi, Kendra, saying, love the idea of using music as a preventative measure in health. Music as a preventative resource within the community. Absolutely. I was curious. One of the areas I was curious about was the shifts of context in terms of, you know, does music and its healing benefits and affordances change when from, you know, because, you know, DJ Green and MC Joel have a fan base that they've gathered in Uganda. They have that community, and that music's a central part of that community. It is the center. And then suddenly that center is brought to the United States, where that is suddenly displaced. It seems that music is still there, of course, but that the context is different. What did you find in terms of their experience with that? Because it seems that music is both the connection, but also is dependent upon the ecology around them. Yeah,
there are people who are extremely adaptive. There are people who look at the context, figure out what to change in their style of music, the language they're using. Furaha actually has performed, I think, in about 5 or 6 languages over time. And same thing with the others. They have also, you know, I'm sure, you know, DJ Green and MC Joel and Don Bryder also have done the same thing. It's as you move from place to place, you're forced to adapt, whether it's changing language or the style of music, in order to, you know, appeal to a bigger audience in your new context. So adaptation is like a centerpiece for continuing the practice when you are not in the same context. And that is their readiness to adapt, and their capacity to adapt also is what I think is extremely good to see. I don't think the article that I wrote gives you, you know, does enough justice to the kind of learning that I got from talking to these gentlemen.
Yeah, what else do you feel like, and which is great that we could talk live now about that. What do you feel like might have been that you couldn't go into too deeply into the article that really maybe you wish you would have put in there now?
What I wish I would have put there is more about the messages that were being communicated in their music. Unfortunately, there is a word count for articles, as you are aware, so we can't really write everything we want there. Right. But I wanted to go deeper into what sort of messages are they talking about, and how does it relate to their circumstances. I thought that was something I left out, which I really struggled with.
which is why I feel it's so important not only that we heard from some of the artists tonight, but for people to go to their YouTube page. You know, Don Brighter, I wish we had a chance to talk to. He spits fire. I mean, he's an amazing MC. DJ Grin, the joy within his music is just, you could, it radiates from the monitor. The sense of community from Faraha's music, and again, the joy in her and her devotion and faith within it just really comes through. And so that seems to be a very important aspect of the research.
Thank you.
Mahanga Donald said, has it left a comment and said, music has been and must be the bridge to connect our communities in and outside the USA. Let's get it built.
That is correct.
Yes. Is there anything you would like to leave us with about your research and about your work that maybe we missed tonight?
Yes, I mean, there's a bunch of things to say. Limited with time, but there are a lot of refugee agencies that very amazing agencies and very amazing people that I met in the process of doing this research, and people who have a lot of goodwill, who are really looking forward to helping the next refugee that comes here, whichever way they can. We need to provide a better understanding of refugee experiences. So this study is not enough, in my perspective. There is a lot more to understand about their experience that would help these people be more equipped with the perspectives of refugees that can help people who are trying to help them decide what is best to do. In my study, for example, I felt like the bigger missing piece is how to tap from the talent and skills that refugees bring from wherever they come from. So I focused on music, but there are probably other refugees out there who are really good in other things like, drama or folklore, drawing or other things. And when people come out here, we have a tendency to assume they have to start from scratch. They don't know anything. Whatever skills they have will not apply here. Some of them actually do. So we need to figure out how to best tap from the talents they bring, and to use that to our advantage to help them and other refugees to have a better experience.
Absolutely. Your work crosses so many different boundaries: occupational therapy, mental health, music therapy, and also positioning the people we work with as therapists, as the experts of their own lived experience, of their own culture, of their own artistic sensibilities. What do you see in healthcare and that where we can work together in these ways across the various modalities: occupational therapy, mental health, music therapy, and the experts, which are the people we work with day to day?
Yeah, one of the biggest problems in healthcare is that there's too much regulation and struggle over who is doing what, and confusion that comes with that. And part of what I think can be done by healthcare professionals is not being done now, which is reaching out to the communities, to people who are struggling before they have to come to the clinics to look for help. We're not doing that well enough, and yet we keep complaining about increasing healthcare costs. Obviously, when somebody attempts suicide or something terrible like that, and they end up in an acute care hospital, then a lot of money is spent trying to get them to recover, both physically and emotionally. But if we had invested just a little bit in trying to keep people healthy, we could have done that. But in order to do that, I think an interdisciplinary approach where music therapists, occupational therapists, physicians and nurses and teachers and people who meet these individuals out in the community need to work as a team. And that collaboration is not very strong at the moment. And I think it's something we need to look at.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully there'll be more to come. We could talk for several hours. And again, I encourage anybody watching, and this recording will continue to be on our YouTube channel, and will continue to be here in Voices on our Facebook page. So I hope that any educators out there, that you are able to, that the words of Faraha and the words of DJ Gran can be lessons and educational tools, words of wisdom for students and for therapists. And I just thank you so much for your work, Bernard. Thank you for the article and your research. Very powerful.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I think that's going to be it for tonight for another edition of Voices Live. We really appreciate you hanging in there with us and being with Bernard. And thank you for watching and commenting. And yeah, we will see you again another time. Thanks, Bernard.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me around.
Yeah, you take care now. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch. Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.